Okay, I think we are live. One second.
Right. How
I
exciting.
think we are live. Let me double check. For anyone that stumbles on this later, we have no idea what we're doing. Steve, did you get a hold of your wine? What did you refill yourself with today?
So I'm actually drinking this. I'll show you. No, I'm not being sponsored or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it's just like this Gonzalez Wine Company. It's a
Mm-hmm.
2019 Malbec. So yeah, I love me a Malbec. It's a little young, but it's all right. How about you?
I'm drinking a red, and it's just a red. It came in like a 6 pack of small bottles. And right before we joined, I went to go pop this tiny little bottle, and I broke the cork right into the bottle.
Of
And
course you did.
I was like, oh, what am I gonna do to salvage this right now? And 30 minutes before this, I seriously poured it through a coffee filter. So I don't think I'm a I don't think I'm a wine authority.
Multi-purpose. Hey, why not? Sure, why not?
Yeah, so there was just bits of cork everywhere, but don't worry, I only taste bleach paper now, so we're good.
What are you drinking, by the way? I didn't catch it.
Dude, I forgot. I'm pretty sure it's a
Just
cab.
a 6 pack of red.
Yeah, just a 6 pack of red. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's a cab. I'm pretty sure it's a cab.
Okay.
Yeah,
We don't know, but we're pretty sure.
it's 5 o'clock. We can do whatever
That's
we
right.
want now. Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's 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 red. It's red.
It's red.
All
Yep.
right. So for if anyone's joining us right now, Steve, I actually want to know a lot about you because I went and I doxed your ass online. By the way, you
Oh,
have
did you?
quite an extensive history, honestly, with that Fifth Planet stuff. I actually looked at that one Facebook game that you had cooked up. So honestly, can you tell me like a little bit more about like your game development history? Because I have a lot of questions about game dev because I'm not really a game dev.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's my background is game developer. It started on Facebook. It was two guys in a garage with a dream of making a game. We didn't know what to do. We had no clue, but we loved playing games. So we figured, how hard could it be to make a game? So literally, it was me and another guy just sitting in my home office. He would do all the marketing stuff. I would do all the coding stuff. And between the two of us, we struck lightning in a bottle and first came up with it's called Dawn of the Dragons. It's a fantasy-based clicker game on Facebook. This was back in the heyday when Facebook didn't charge anything and gave us free advertising and whatnot. So
I popped it up on YouTube, man. I looked at Dawn of the Dragons. I looked it
did you?
up. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is very. I was like, dang, if we can rebuild that, if we can even rebuild something from like, what was that, like 15 years ago? If we could
Yeah, it's like
rebuild,
15 years ago.
yeah. I
Yeah,
was like, if we could rebuild that, then we're in business. Honestly, that's super cool.
that was definitely a different time for sure.
Something that I was also curious about too was like you mentioned you guys just had like a dream of like wanting to make a game and going after it. I'm pretty chronically online on Reddit, and I feel like everyone keeps asking the same questions, and they kind of have like hoop dreams, if you will, of striking it rich or getting like a hit
Yeah,
game. Like, is that something that like you felt like you were going in with intention that it would become like a hit, like it became?
not at all. Nope. It's kind of the Michael Jordan saying, "For the love of the game." That's really why I got into it, and why my co-founder went into it as well. As again, we didn't know what we didn't know at the time. Like, we are completely ignorant. The only reason we did it is because we love playing games, and we thought, well, how hard could it really be to make a game? Not knowing what we didn't know at the time. No, it was literally for the love of the game. That's honestly why I make any games, is for the love of the game. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for riches. I'm doing it because I love to do it. This is who I am as a person. So I absolutely love it. I love making games, love making systems, etc.
So you head off of Fifth Planet. What are you working on like nowadays, basically?
Yeah, so after Fifth Planet, I actually started a mobile gaming company that called Flat Toe Studio. We made a game called Minions and Immortals, and I just burned through my capital. Didn't have enough to, especially at that time with mobile,
Classic.
it was so hard to acquire users. It's so cutthroat. But then I went to work for the man, and so then I was a software developer up until now, basically. Well, I'm a engineering manager now, so I don't do as much software design or implementation as I would like, but I still try to get my hands dirty as much as possible.
So
What about you?
if anyone
Yeah.
stumbles on this, I ran into Steve working at a company, and he taught me how to play Magic the Gathering. And I'm pretty much just a generalist software engineer. But Steve, I don't know if you knew this about me. I am like a poli-sci major. I don't really have like a formal CS background, but I taught myself how to code because I told myself at the time I was like, I'm gonna make games. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
And then I immediately skipped that and just sold out and became a software developer because that's what you do in the
That's right.
2010s.
That's right. Exactly.
So I'm really glad you hit me up about this. I think it's an opportunity because now it's like Baby Clay gets to have his like aspirations fulfilled.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise I would have just done another 10 years as a developer and not never accomplished what I actually set out to learn this for in the first place.
Well, hopefully we can make your dream come true as well.
Yeah. So tell me about like the inspiration of this game. I know a little bit about it, but actually we haven't even gone that far in depth all the way.
Yeah, so back in the day, it was really hard to develop games. It still is hard. It's really hard to develop games. Make no bones about it. Like anyone who comes in thinking that like, I'll just do it all, it's just like it's really, really hard to do so. But that's kind of what the inspiration for this was: is how do I even start? Where do I begin? Like, what tools are there? What do I need to know? So for me, this was more of an idea of okay, can I somehow help others understand core game concepts, how to develop it, what the systems you need are, anything from the database to the servers to the front end to assets to music to sound, everything that goes into a game itself, and everything that I've done in my past. Maybe pay forward a little bit, and maybe others can be inspired by that and understand that, you know what? If you follow your passion, your dreams hard enough, maybe you too can do what you love for a living, as it were. So this project here, this Age of Destiny project, is a brainchild of mine, and it really could only come to fruition in today's AI world. And I know AI gets a bad name. Everyone hates AI, blah blah blah. I understand all that, but I look back 15 years ago to where I just playing around with AI today, and the amount of stuff that you can get done with AI is just mind blowing. So I thought, well, can we develop a game heavily inspired in using AI? And what can we get at the end? Can we get a Dawn of the Dragons or a Minions and Immortals, or in this case, an Age of Destiny? Can we create a browser based high fantasy MMORPG from scratch, two guys in a garage using AI? So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how far we get.
So
I want the audience to understand that this is a journey that I want to share with them as well. I want them to be involved with it. I want them to be cooperative with us, or even be competitive with us if they want to. I mean, literally, I just want them to be involved somehow. This is about the community. I want the community to speak up, give ideas, and we'll work through all this stuff together. So that's kind of my brainchild. That's what I want to see happen.
So I think I've told you before in the past, but React.js is sort of like my bread and butter. I would say it's like my claim to fame in terms of engineering. Like that's what I'm good at. I come into any company. The reason why usually they hired me is because I'm good at React. Never in a million years would I have thought about building a game in a browser. And it has nothing other than I just thought that I was coming in with limitations or something. That's just my naivete of not knowing how games are really made. Looking at like your history of going to Facebook and building games there, I've noticed already like just you don't go off of the traditional like, oh, I'm gonna go build it in Unity and then publish it over to Steam. Like, can you tell me a little bit about like where you're coming in with I don't know how to frame it exactly, but it's not that it's unorthodox, but it's like a complete different way of looking at how to develop games. Is what I'm. Hopefully, you get
Yeah,
what I'm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say this: that Minions and Immortals, the mobile game, was built entirely in Unity. So I have gone down that path before. I will say that it's a specialized skill set for Unity, and so you have fewer options when it comes to personnel. The reality is, I was just trying to think of, okay, if I were to do this. Well, first of all, I played around with 3JS quite a bit. just because I like the concept of being able to build stuff in a browser that's easily accessible to anyone. Anyone who has the internet in the browser could, in theory, play this game. So that's one, is accessibility. And two, React, 3JS, all of these front-end libraries are well-known and well-established paradigms, and AI can understand, and there's enough there that it can both learn and teach at the same time. So much more so than Unity. If you open up Unity editor and try to do this with AI, it's going to be much more of a challenge. Whereas if you do this within an actual browser, I think you're going to get the AI able to do more with fewer prompts, fewer iterations, etc. And part of this whole process, including the community, etc., is rapid iteration, right? We build something, it doesn't work, well, shit, throw it away. We'll try something else. So that's why I want to be very, very nimble, very, very agile. And I think that Unity as a framework, while super powerful and great, is far more restrictive on that.
So, great segue for what I want to ask you about AI. I use AI straight up every single, God, like every hour for sure at minimum at this point. Like, if anyone got into my Perplexity account, I think I'm in trouble, basically, right? Like my Google search history, you can go through it as much as you want. It's Perplexity that has the dirt on me now. So I'm using Perplexity, and it's mainly because I have a paid license for it that was given to me for free. I love ChatGPT. I don't pay the premium, but I actually want to. Claude is the one that I am always going to pay good money now for. If they keep raising the prices, it's like, so be it. It's just too powerful to me. What are you using like on a day-to-day now?
Yeah, so those are great. I absolutely agree with that. So I'm in love with Claude. Claude is my go-to when it comes to just everyday conversations and trying to. I do a lot of riff with game design with Claude, and so I love Claude for sure. But honestly, I'm using GPT for image creation. It's much better because it goes out to oh crap, the image processing software. I can't even remember it off the top. But anyway, Claude doesn't do image processing or image creation.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where I use GPT. But honestly, beyond all of that is something that I think most people aren't even aware of or aren't using. Although I just saw an ad for it over the weekend. Whisper. Whisper is a speech to text AI tool
Yep.
that basically allows me to go straight from my brain to my voice to the IDE, which actually will allow me to generate code, which is just, it's remarkable how quickly it goes from brain to actual code.
Yeah, I've used it slightly at my last company, which was in telecommunications for 911. Basically, telecommunicators wanted to have the ability for speech to text because people are calling in with, for 911 calls, and then you can transfer it over. The one thing I noticed is that it's super expensive. So to do speech to text over the long run, especially once there's like, I don't know, people who speak other languages and stuff. So I'm thankful for Claude for development purposes because it's still like at this like affordable apex right now.
I just don't like typing. It hurts my fingers.
I definitely noticed that, by the way. As in, I'm still like very much like if I'm talking to these AI tools, I want to chat it all out because I think I just process that better. But I've been seeing everyone doing speech to text. So you're not alone. I think that's like getting more and more common. People aren't going to know how to type soon.
I agree with that, honestly. I mean, the evolution of just coding in general is going to change so much. Anyway, the one thing I do think is for the audience and so forth, we'll put the like links to the different tools that we use so others can make use of them in their own free time as well. So
cool. Well then, dude, please introduce us to the game. I want a warm introduction on this game. I've jumped around, I've played around, I've made a little bit of code that you probably wish I didn't push in, but I actually haven't gotten a full walkthrough from you, so I'm actually really excited to see it.
Well, the reality is this is still like pre-alpha. I mean, this is like the very, very, very beginning of it. It's more of a skeleton of a game than an actual game.
This is the dough right now. Yeah.
Yeah. However, with using AI and telling it what I wanted, it came up with I'm not going to say a good, but at least a substantial foundation from which to build upon. And so The idea is very simple, like we were talking about. Obviously, I'm just running this locally. At some point, we'll put it out on a dev server and a test server, and then obviously on prod. Um, but yeah, you'll just, you'll register, create an account. I just happen to have one. Shalquin is my game name, so if you ever see me online and you see Shalquin, that's who I am. So um, the reality is, it's like any other high fantasy MMORPG. The inspiration comes from really two games that I played a shit ton of when I was younger. um, the Wizardry series was very formative for me in my RPG life. I love Wizardry, especially Wizardry 7 was my favorite, Crusader of the Dark Savant. Um, one of the two, Crusader 7 is
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, I'm making sure it wasn't Bane of the Mystic Forge. Anyway, yes, Crusaders, and then EverQuest. So first time EverQuest came out, I just absolutely fell in love with it. It absorbed so much time in my life. Just the sheer freedom, the always on availability, being able to group with people, meet people from across the globe, being able to group up and raid and do quests and etc. Those two games are kind of the inspiration for this. So kind of picture AOD as a merger between old school wizardry and EverQuest. So if that doesn't make any sense to anyone, that's okay. Google it, and you'll get it.
I want to bug you about Wizardry 7, by the way, because when you told me about that game, I actually went on Steam and bought it. It cost me a whopping 84 cents, and
oh my gosh!
And holy shit, it was like super hard. I thought it was like, man, it was like the equivalent for anyone that hasn't played super old RPGs like that. It was like when you watch like, black and white basketball and they're dribbling, and like it was like you got like Harlem Globetrotters music in the back. It was like it was so hard to play out, and then it was like I got into like my first encounter and I couldn't do any damage against any of the enemies. So I went to do like a walkthrough, and there was like a little bit like, oh, you're supposed to memorize like paths and stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean that you bring up a great point. This game here is not a traditional casual game. This game is meant to be more hardcore, and that's fine. I mean, if people want to do casual games, they can. But this is meant to be more for people who are wanted a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit. Obviously, we're going to do modern amenities and try to make it easier. I think the original one didn't even have a mini map. The original of Wizardry didn't even have a mini map, so you had to graph it out on graph paper, do all your maps by hand, etc. We're not going to go that extreme, but definitely it's going to be more of a hardcore MMORPG. But 84 cents, damn, you were fleeced. Anyway, I've created a few characters in here and we can go through the actual character creation screen. Where do you want to start out, actually?
Why don't you, if there's one that you don't mind deleting, maybe we can kind of start from there and just kind of see. I've only been forcing a fighter type each time I create, but maybe you can tell me a little bit more about, because I always want to end up with the path, my happy path, but maybe you can kind of like walk through what you're envisioning. Yeah
exactly. So first of all, and I'm not sure why these are showing up, these are CSS issues that changed recently that we'll have to fix. But basically in EverQuest, which again is so this character creation is again a merger between Wizardry and EverQuest. In EverQuest, there were 3 specific factions or alignments that characters were created under. So that's where you get these as well, the good, neutral, and evil races. And based off of those races, you would have access to certain parts of the map that you wouldn't have otherwise. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of tension and division within the map itself. If you were a human and you saw an ogre or something, oh, well, they're probably the enemy. Whatever the case may be. So not quite as extreme as WoW, where WoW you really are 2 separate factions,
right,
and can't talk to each other, etc. And they truly are mortal enemies. This isn't like that,
right,
but it makes it a lot harder to explore in those areas. Not impossible, but difficult. That's one of the things about this game in general is you can do pretty much anything in the game. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. So, for example, Obviously, gender, just choose a gender, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to just, Croonin is the same thing as a human. Humans are Croonins, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to actually choose a Sylvani. They're the elves, the prototypical elves of the world. These are the stats that you would get for an elf. And in wizardry, what you could do, though, is you could re-roll. So you could spend all day, if you really wanted to get the perfect score and re-roll and get the stats that you wanted in order to get additional bonuses here.
Mm-hmm.
Because what these stats allow is access to classes. There are 4 main classes, but underneath each of those are branches. So you start out very simple, right? The idea is, okay, let's get familiar with the basic classes. And from there, then I can grow and expand into additional specializations. So let me just do Sylvani. Let me re-roll here. I don't know. Let's just do a mage. Mages are, I think, Sylvani's preferred class. Let's see, your speed is 13. And their intellect is 16. And their ego's 15. Bam. And then, so you can kind of see here. Once those are met, you can see the mage will grow into either a wizard or conjurer.
Yep.
And then later, a wizard can turn into either a sorcerer and an illusionist, or an illusionist. Or if you go to the conjurer path, you could become a necromancer or a summoner. So this sort of branching allows you to become familiar with those classes, but you're not locked into them for the entire game. You grow and specialize as you progress.
Sure.
Beyond that, of course, is just the traditional background and first name stuff. So I can do that. I can choose a first name. I can do a random first name.
No, and I love a lot of this that you've cooked up already, because I feel like with a lot of these kind of games, people sort of immediately figure out the ideal builds, but because you kind of have to re-roll, there's sort of like, you're always going to have the creativity to come up with new exciting builds.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because we don't want to just only have 20,000 fighters running around at all times because they figured out the ideal build or whatever, right? So I'm right there.
That's exactly right. So the idea is like and fighter is a great example. Like if you go back and look at the character creation screen, Croonins can be fighters pretty easily. Dog people they're called Lupdans, can be fighters pretty easily. But there are certain races that it's really, really difficult to be. You have to almost have a perfect role in order to become a Felper fighter. That's really, really hard. So if you want to put in enough time and effort, you could be that unicorn. You could be that special person who went through the effort of becoming a Felper fighter, which ultimately might become a berserker later on. So you might be the only Felper berserker in the entire game.
No, I think that's great. I don't know if you've played any of the modern Pokemon games, but people will breed Pokemon and it's kind of randomized, like what kind of stats the Pokemon that you raise basically will have. Yeah. And people will just grind all day to get this like perfect. They just basically go all in on the eugenics of Pokemon to get like the ideal one. So I think this is fun. This is cool.
So basically what happens is, oh no, I don't want to do this. So let me exit out of this really quickly.
No worries.
So the reason I'm saying oh no, and just by the way, is because I'm in Duskwood. There are different starting zones based off of your race and background combos. And this zone just doesn't have anything in it right now. I haven't built out Duskwood. That's part of the creation process. We'll be building out all these starting zones.
Yeah, I was forcing myself to junction every time specifically just to happy path it. Yeah.
That's right. So that's great. So people are getting to see this. So here we'll go to junction.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, if you were a certain race, certain background, you would show up in junction. And let me turn off the clouds as well. These are just effects that I've been playing with, and the clouds just look awful. So same with like all the assets and whatnot. These all have to be played around with and messed around with. These are all just placeholder for when we actually develop it to be a little bit more beautiful. At the same time, I want the same old school aesthetic that you got back from the mid-90s with the wizardry and the EverQuest. So these will be 3D models, but they will be the the 2.5D models where it's kind of pixelated, etc. So it'll still be running on a modern engine, but with old school feel.
Yeah, just in case anyone stumbles on this, this is a WASD moving around kind of movement, but you use Q and E to do your turning. There's been a lot of games that have been doing that, and it wasn't natural to me, but I noticed a lot of games are doing that exact same movement system, so I think it's really cool, actually.
Yeah, ultimately, once the key bindings get implemented, people will be free to come in here and customize it however they want.
Oh man, somebody's gonna come up with something crazy. I can already feel it.
And more power to them if that's what they want.
They got like a numpad they're going hard on. I can already see it. Yeah, that's cool.
But you bring up a great point. This is a grid-based system, right? So EverQuest was free, where you could just walk around anywhere. Like Elden Ring, you can just walk around anywhere in the 3D world. This is truly Wizardry, where it's grid-based. So that's where that inspiration comes from. It's an old school feel, and it's just a design choice because I wanted to do it more than anything. So that's why it looks like a grid. Even on the mini map, if you wanted to, you could turn on the grid and you could see where you are. But yeah, the whole idea of grid-based versus flexible, it's more of a design choice than anything, and this is the design choice that I made.
And I want to give you your flowers for this design choice because Wizardry was so clunky. It was I don't know. And I want to give Wizardry its flowers. I thought it was super revolutionary for like that time it came out. But trying to go back and use it like today, I was like, oh my god, I can't move around like at all. So this already has this really easy to move around. It's very clear what you're getting done. So I actually already thought it was really easy to move around the first time I jumped in here.
Excellent. So yeah, I will say this again, going back to level of polish and creativity and what has been done so far. It's really bare bones minimum. Obviously, the UI doesn't mean anything. It's all just placeholder art, etc. But some of the things that have been implemented already, obviously moving around on a map creation, map generation, all the maps are done by hand. This is part of the journey, is going to be taking a map that's either created on graph paper or in tiled. I think we should use tiled and export the actual tiled TMJ file and then import it. It's a JSON file that has all the different layers and all the creatures and all the spawns and all the objects, etc. And we'll go through that in future episodes. We'll talk about that. And then taking that and using that as the tool in order to create maps. The other thing that we'll need to talk about in future episodes are the tools themselves, because part of the process of creating a game is all of the tools that go into making the game. So people just think that I can just sit down and make a game, but what you really need to do at the end of the day is content. You need content of some sort, unless it's some like really simple procedural based game where you just go in and it's all randomly generated and so forth. But in a game like this, you have to be able to create content, and you need to be able to create content so that the audience doesn't get upset, so that people have enough to not get bored.
Right.
And part of that is creating the tools, item creators, NPC creators, map creators, all the quest creators, raid creators, all the stuff that goes into an actual online game. Those tools will need to be developed over time.
So have you ever worked on an MMO before in the past? I've only played MMOs. I've never worked on, obviously, I've never worked on any games. So have you worked on one in the past before?
Yeah, so my Minions and Immortals game, that was actually a mobile MMORPG game. So people would be online at the same time. They'd be questing together. They'd be running around together in groups and fighting creatures together in real time. So this is a little bit different in the sense that game was all truly real-time gaming, where you'd walk around with your group, kind of like EverQuest or WoW or whatever, where you get in combat, it's all real-time, etc. This is a little bit different in the sense that the world itself is real-time when I'm walking around, but combat is turn-based. So there's a little bit of a not real MMO. I shouldn't say real, but it's a little bit different. It's a combination of an MMORPG but with turn-based combat.
Yep, totally follow. The reason I asked was because because you had mentioned MMOs needing content to keep the user engaged, which makes sense to me. Is there like is there a design paradigm where once you've built the game out, it's almost becomes like a, I don't know, like a storyboarding kind of thing where people are jumping around and just trying to be creative in how they come up with the content? And is that it is the hard part coming up with the content, and then you no longer have to worry about like maybe the engineering as much, or is it always going to be constantly, no, this is like an engineering feat, and the creative just come kind of just is like an, not an afterthought. I guess I need to like succinctly come up with like my question, but hopefully you kind of pick up what I'm putting down in the order of priority.
Yeah. From my experience, I will say that they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
What normally happens is you come up with like the simplest sort of content to start the game, and the engineers implement that. But ultimately what happens is you get creative folk coming in, and then they'll want to do something else. So a weapon will proc, and it'll cause this skill to trigger, and it'll cause this to happen, and you're like, holy, we never designed the game for that. And that's where the engineering comes in to try to match the vision of the content. And people don't know until they've actually played the basics in order to get the foundations of the game, what the game could actually possibly turn into. So they really do go hand in hand. I remember back like on Dawn of the Dragons, when we first started, it was probably the simplest thing that you could possibly imagine. But then fast forward years later, and it was so incredibly complicated, and engineers were needed for the whole time. Even though we hired designers, game designers, etc., they very much worked hand in hand. Literally, game designers would just throw crazy shit against the wall and see if it worked, and then it was up to engineering to make sure that they could implement it.
I follow what you mean, because I can already see an incident where you already built out the app and it's working how you expect, and then some product manager shows up and goes, "We need rooms," and it just blows up the entire design of what you. Okay, I follow. Yeah. I follow.
Yep. So, but it's fun. I mean, that's kind of the journey of the game itself. Is like the game takes on a life of its own. Where it ends up, no one could possibly picture where it's going to go. And so that journey, that path is incredible. And so hopefully everyone can be a part of it, because they can be at the beginning and then see where we go along that way.
Okay. So let's turn this conversation productive in terms of I have introduced a ton of shit sloppy code into the repo already, and I'm trying to unscrew the code base that I jumped in on. Maybe you can kind of tell me like, what have you been doing? Maybe just like 5 minutes of like, you hop in and you go, hey Clay, you already busted this, you already busted that. Maybe you can kind of run me through your kind of typical, just your initial QA process after like a PR or something like that.
Yeah, so some of the CSS stuff I've noticed is already broken, but let me kind of just give you an example. So like this stuff here, these are actually tabs. These are tabs here.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Character, inventory, and skills are actually tabs. And for some reason, I can't get into each of them. They were actually tabs at one point, so the CSS isn't working. But the idea is, there's a character sheet, just like in any other MMO. There's an inventory, and you can drag and drop and move things to packs and whatnot. This takes a lot of inspiration from EverQuest. So know that there are an absolute shit ton of slots, a lot of things that people can go out and fill their inventory with. This, by the way, was, I'm not going to say it was nice, but it was evenly spaced. It was properly spaced. It had correct backgrounds on all this, etc.
Okay.
There were little borders around it and whatnot.
I'll make it not look like shit once I come back around. I understand the ask,
This backpack, for example, when I opened it up, there was a background on the backpack.
Okay.
And you can move. Well, let me see if I can move it. Nope, I can't move. I used to be able to move like the backpack around, etc.
Oh, so it was self-draggable.
Yeah, packs are draggable because in old school EverQuest, and even honestly WoW when it first started out, you could drag your packs around and then you could do inventory management, and by moving stuff into different packs and whatnot. So this game you can do inventory in tons of different ways. I mean, literally there's probably 100 different ways that games do inventories. And I chose an inventory system that I liked from EverQuest, which I'm sure will get a lot of pushback. People will hate it. And maybe it'll evolve over time. But to start out, the inventory system is pack based. You have 8 slots for packs, and then packs are something where you can either create them, or they drop off creatures, or you buy them in shops.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is packs. You can see this small backpack. It has 8 slots. You can't really tell, but it's 8 slots on it. So packs suddenly become extremely valuable because the more backpack slots you have, the more slots you have, the more things you can carry, the less time you have to go back to town, the less time you have to go out and stop adventuring. However, what packs do is it's a gating mechanism. At some point, you have to choose, okay, do I want to drop some of this stuff? Do I need to really pick up every single item that I'm working on? And if I do want to do that, it forces me to go back to town, back to the merchant, interact with people, go back to society, and actually do the stuff that I want to. Plus, it allows me to go to a bank, store my extra loot that I'm not going to be carrying with me while I adventure, and again gives you an opportunity to interact with the world as a whole. So these are like forcing mechanisms. It's forcing people to be social. A lot of games won't tell you that. A lot of developers won't tell you that. But there are little tricks that developers use to get players to do things, even though they're not aware that's what they're trying to do. And so this is one of those things where if you just had infinite inventory space, you'd just be out adventuring all the time and just like never have a need to come back for anything.
And just hoard indefinitely, or just make a bunch of mules indefinitely. I hear you.
That's
yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So let's say, sidebar for the audience in case they stumble on this, I broke the CSS. From an engineering perspective, it was all written in CSS, and I did a Claude migration over to Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS, in case anyone isn't familiar, I just love it to death. And Steve, some drama came up with Tailwind recently. It was maintained. It was maintained by 4 people. And they just laid off 3, and there's only 1 more guy on top of the team now. So I regret everything.
I was going to ask you. I was literally going to ask. So should we still be using Tailwind for
We should. And I'll tell you why. Tailwind is very powerful. AI gets it to the nth degree. It doesn't get it clearly on my one-shot, I wasn't monitoring the junior. I told the junior, you got this, and I hit approve on the PR without looking. But it really makes life a lot easier for people who don't want to be dedicated in CSS the entire time. So I still stand by my choice, and I'm very sorry that I broke the inventory system. Is there a guide that I can use to try to rebuild this? Because we talked, this whole UI in terms of styling will look probably drastically different once we actually release out to the public. Is there like a guide that I can use as like a one-to-one to be like, oh, I want to... Okay.
And the reality is, and the reason there isn't, is this is all throwaway anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm not like attached to any of the UI elements. All of this can change. So, and I'm not a UI guy, so this is great that you're here to set me straight and make sure that I don't do anything really stupid. So, yeah, all of this is up for debate, and I'm honestly hoping the audience will help us as well along the way, because none of us is as smart as all of us, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm heavily relying on you to help me make this more presentable.
Yeah. I promise in the long run, it's worth the pain.
Yeah, and I believe that for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Beyond that, I do want to talk a little bit, character. Everyone knows about character sheets, etc. Inventory, skills. And we'll create guides and stuff. We'll talk about, like, on the character eventually, we'll talk about all the stats and what they mean and how the game operates, resistances, all that sort of stuff. But I will want to just briefly mention skills. This is a old school EverQuest skill-centric game in the sense that you gather skills, you collect skills, and then you use the skills to improve them over time. It's not like you level up, you get a skill point, and you just put it in your skills. There is an opportunity to what I'm calling alternate points, AP, or adventure points. We'll figure out the naming. But kind of like alternate advancement, where you can specialize in a skill like one-handed slash, But as you adventure a little bit more, now suddenly you can specialize in swords or specialize in axes, or now you could be a crit build, or you could be a bleed build, or a crit damage build, or you could reduce your initiative, reduce your speed, you could be fast, etc. So there's a lot of customization that's going to go into this game, and we'll go through a lot of that as well. But I just wanted to set the framework that this is a skill game, and you learn by doing, as it were. So, and not all characters, not all classes have access to all skills. That's the other thing.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
So these are just some of the skills that I've implemented. Well, I say implemented. They're not really implemented. They're more placeholder than anything. But you get the idea. Like monster lore, you can hover over creatures, and it's just day-night cycle as well as it. So it gets really dark at night. You can kind of see how dark it got.
Yep.
Let me do this. So
torch it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a pine torch here. I'm gonna add and equip this. And then I'm going to turn this on. What? Route not found? What happened?
Yeah. It could be me still, huh?
Oh no! Route not found. Use your imagination. This should have worked, and there should have been a light. Let me see something. Let me see if any light works. So some of these buildings over here, they have light sources. That I put in here. Yeah, okay, so light does work. It's just that the torch, for whatever reason, turning it on doesn't work.
Got it. So maybe something, that could either be, when it says route now found, it could be that maybe during the migration for the torch, we lost that
Probably
route.
On the server side.
Definitely on the server side, I would think, yeah.
This is an opportunity to go and fix this, unless you wanted to talk about something else.
No, this is great. I had already wanted to talk about, let's pull up Claude and maybe kind of demonstrate how developers nowadays might leverage Claude to solve a bug like this. I actually think this is the perfect opportunity because you can already kind of give an example, or you can use Cursor. I forgot to give a shout out to Cursor. I was using that one really heavily. I just kind of like Claude more now a little bit nowadays, but Cursor is super powerful, and I think that we can kind of give Claude some hints to go chase down this bug.
Yeah, actually, I was introduced to Kiro lately.
I've never heard of that one.
I know. So, all these IDs, they just
Oh, man, what is this? Could you spell this one out for me? Kiro?
Yeah, Kiro.
Okay, Kiro.
Yeah, so
this is a real arms race, man. It's crazy.
It is. It's an arms race without a doubt.
I try not to fall in love because I'm like, I'll ditch you so quick. Cursor was like, Cursor at first I was like, I'm never gonna let you go. We're gonna get married. You're my favorite. And then Claude came and I go, I'm over you. Whatever, move on. Yeah. So I love it. I actually love all these tools. I think it's great. So yeah, no, I haven't even heard of Kiro yet. Okay.
Yeah. So I just learned about it a couple weeks ago. So don't be surprised if at some point you come in here and I'm using Kiro.
No worries. I'm ready to ditch Claude at any time. I just don't want it to hear me say that out loud,
I know, exactly. And when the Silicon overlords take over, you don't want them to know that we have favorites.
Yeah, I apologize ahead of time. Yeah.
So basically, what I'm going to do is I just started basically a new chat with this. And it has context. So I'm going to basically use Whisper and just kind of explain what's going on, and then we can see what the AI does. And this is kind of how my workflow goes. So I'm not even looking at any code. I'm not looking at anything. I'm just going to tell it what the problem is and see if AI can figure it out. Hey, so in the inventory, when I have a torch and I click on the turn on button, for some reason I'm getting route not found. So that was me speaking, using Whisper, going to Cursor. Hopefully it came up with something like this.
And before you hit enter, do you usually kind of just start leading it along by using one little thing and one little thing and one little thing? Or are you the kind of person like me, for example, you will grab as much information as possible and shove it all in and say, you go figure it out with this much context and you better figure it out with all this context?
That's a great question, and it totally depends on the task itself. If it's something that it's not familiar with at all, if it doesn't have any context, if it doesn't have code like this that it can go and search, then I give it as much information as possible. Because as everyone knows, well, anyone who knows who's used AI, it hallucinates. It'll go off and do all sorts of crazy shit. So you want to be as specific as possible with your prompting to try to keep it on the straight and narrow. Otherwise, it's going to probably do some crazy stuff.
I'm shoving in console logs, I'm shoving in network tabs, I'm shoving in error codes, I'm just shoving it all in. I go, you need to figure it out. And I will say it does a pretty good job.
Yeah. Let's see if this is
We'll give it just a little bit to see a little context.
So yeah, I will say this, that going back to like the intro, talking about how long it would take to debug and fix and number of people and just the amount of knowledge you need to have of the code base, it's something where you might forget, you might be not familiar with it, you might have someone else come on board, another engineer, developer, etc. AI can go and search all of your code in milliseconds and be able to come up with a solution. Now, whether it's the right solution is a different story, but at least it comes up with a potential solution. So, whereas normally that would take hours or days for an engineer to do, now it's seconds in order for AI to come up with something.
And I fully admit my shortcomings as a developer. I'm really, really good at cooking up a feature or greenfielding applications. I'm really bad at having the attention span to read through an already very mature code base, because I'm like, all I want to do is add a button. But now I got to read 17 files to figure out where it was that I wanted to go. I love just going into an AI like Cursor or Claude and just say, which file is it that I'm supposed to add this button to? And then I can very literally go and skip a lot of the reading and just be like, sometimes the AI will go, I'm pretty sure it's one of these 3 files. Suddenly I don't have to read 20 files, I'm reading just 3. And that's probably my pet peeve with coding in corporate, is these mature apps that are just like, everyone's got like their own design style. Like they don't always maybe keep the same,
that's right,
coding patterns and stuff like that as things get more mature and messy. So I just love just having it boil down my work, if anything. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think what happened is, this toggle light source endpoint, it was there before we switched to Fastify, and now it's no longer there. So now it implemented it for us.
Yep.
For those at home, we also did a backend server change. We
meaning Clay. I promise it was also worth it. I came in and I destroyed Steve's app to try to make it move from Express to Fastify. I promise it got way faster. I also noticed it doesn't do exactly what you want it to do anymore, so that's on me. But it is way faster.
So let's see. Well, first of all, one thing I noticed is like it used to be the case that if there was a change made. So this is something maybe that you could help me out with.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that if I made a change on either the back end or front end, it would automatically restart the servers.
Yep.
And the browser itself.
Yep.
And it's not doing that anymore. The browsers don't automatically refresh and get the latest for some reason.
On a back end change, correct?
On either change. The front end doesn't either.
The front end should. I
just changed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just changed that, obviously. I added the route. So maybe that would have been a back end. I didn't even notice if it did a back end change only.
It did a back end change only just now. So I wouldn't have expected hot module reloading to have occurred on the front end necessarily. But the front end I should not have, and you know what, that's a big should, but I shouldn't have destroyed the hot module reloading for the front end if you were to make a front end change right now. But the back end, if you have NodeMon running, it should at least be listening to these changes.
Well, something certainly happened here.
Mm-hmm.
On the back end. Sorry for people at home watching us as we go through this, but this is the back end server. Maybe you could explain a little bit what this is.
Yeah, so at least for this game, we have an API developed where it's going to handle a lot of the user's interactions. For example, here, when you were trying to equip a Pine Torch, we need to tell our servers that you equipped a Pine Torch, and that's so that everybody that's playing with you at the same time would also know that your specific character has a pine torch. So we need some sort of central location to kind of speak to all the players about what all the other players are doing. What I did was try to make our backend update from an older sort of library to a newer, faster library, very literally called Fastify. And in that process of using Claude to just shotgun approach it all, we lost a lot of existing functionality. So I will definitely write that down in linear to make sure that we have hot module reloading and also all that other stuff. But I don't think I should have affected that just yet. I'm not. It's not that I'll take ownership for everything broken because honestly that makes sense. But I think that shouldn't have touched anything. That's why I'm a little like, that shouldn't have done anything just yet.
But you bring up a couple of really important concepts that we can talk about in future episodes. You mentioned like there's some sort of tool that communicates that all people will be able to see things that happen in game. That tool, we're using Socket.io for that, and so we can talk a little bit about Socket in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You also mentioned adding something to linear. People probably just have all their ideas either written down in like a Google Doc or hell, like an Excel spreadsheet or something, right?
If you're very disorganized like me, it's just straight up the Notes app. Just like it's really, I'm really embarrassed, but it's just the Notes app for me. It's really, it's bad.
And so we can talk a little bit more about project organization as well, because beyond just like, to your point, everything in Notes, being able to organize and plan and put things in, somewhere that others can have access to and see your roadmap and have milestones and all the things that go into a real project, a professional project, is important. So all of these little tools, all of these little hints and tricks of the trade, they seem stupid, I'm sure, to most people, but they kind of help you get along that path that you need to reach the promised land, as it were.
Yeah, Steve, let me know if you agree or disagree on this statement. I would say that you figure out what works and doesn't work based off of just experience of seeing things fail. Yeah. Like I've worked at a lot of dysfunctional companies, and I've worked at a couple good companies, and you start to kind of bridge the gap of what, you can figure out what works basically.
So sure enough, it's hard to tell because it's light outside, but now the pine torch is working.
Love it. No, can you do me a favor? Can you go back to Cursor and show me the code diff? We can kind of see what Cursor had kind of shoved in to fix that problem.
Sure. Let me turn that off. And I mean, that's clear as night and day. Right?
Yeah. So before the cursor change, it was giving us that error of route not found, and Cursor basically added the route, and a route would basically be an instruction of sort for the server to act on.
That's correct. All right. So let me go back here. Oh, well, okay. It's
to the right of the search, maybe on the top left. The diff.
Here.
Okay.
This just wasn't here at all.
Yep. So we want a dedicated API for a light source, but maybe down the line, this could actually be more of a property on an item to decide whether or not it's on or off, right? I'm just trying to think. Or do we always want light to be its own dedicated route?
I'm not sure what the pluses and minuses are, but at a bare minimum, there are multiple light sources at any given time. So even here, you can kind of see this is a light source here.
Ah, I see. So light source is like it's almost like a key component of the game.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you can have hundreds of light sources, right? Because I might have a torch, another character might have a torch, and that light source moves with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this case, obviously, it's on the map itself. So, yeah. I guess that's also part of the game that we didn't talk about.
Right.
There is a day-night cycle. Certain races can see in the dark. Some races cannot see in the dark.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Just to interrupt you really quick, can you tell me a little bit more about why games of that era kind of like latched onto being able to use light? Because it's something I noticed a lot.
Use light, or what do you mean by it?
Like if I were to play Zelda today, and there's like where there's also day and night. When it turns to night, I don't need to pull out a torch to see. I can still just see, even though it's nighttime. But I noticed a lot of it, like dungeon crawlers, say like Diablo, just RPGs in general that are like maybe 16-bit. They really like love the idea of forcing you to make a choice to get light. So I never understood that mechanic necessarily. I just wonder like if you knew a little bit about what they were hoping to like untap with that, or yeah.
I can see the pros and cons for sure. I think it all stems from D&D, honestly. most of these design decisions come from D&D and like some of the races in D&D had infravision or ultravision. They could see in the dark, whereas some races couldn't. And so I think this is just kind of a legacy sort of thing. But I will say, in addition to that, beyond just the D&D foundation, it adds a different immersion factor to the game itself. The day-night cycles, and it's dark, and you don't have a light source, and you're stumbling around in the dark. You don't know what the hell you're going to run into. It might be a giant around the corner. It might be something else. And if you have the creepy sound going on as well, it draws you into the game itself. Beyond all the other periphery. So, for example, there's a skill for firecrafting. Firecrafting allows you to make light sources. The better you get at that skill, the better your light sources get. The longer they get, the more powerful they get. Some light sources allow you to see secret doors or detect illusionary walls, etc. So the tools themselves help promote features within the games, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot. You just cleared up so much for me. There's like fog of war and all kinds of other things in game.
Right.
No, I totally. And by the way, I just played D&D last Sunday, and I had no idea that it's a D&D thing. I've never even ran into light in D&D, so that makes so much more sense now in terms of what you're trying to get at. Yeah.
So this map, for example, I mean, don't ignore the little outlines here, but this is the whole idea: fog of war.
Fog of war, unexplored area. Yeah.
Unexplored area. Exactly.
Okay. Got it. Cool.
The big thing though is like it really does give you more design space as designers to come up with really cool ideas for like a torch. A torch is such a basic thing, and yet it can really lead to really cool ideas. And as engineers, and we get into this as engineers, we just kind of implement shit. We're told what to do and we implement it without thinking about it. But as a designer, a game designer, you want to try to open up as much space for people to come in and give their ideas to help that game or whatever, that feature grow and just go places you couldn't even imagine. So I imagine hopefully someday that there's going to be an audience member who looks at a torch and says, you know what, we can do this cool thing with it. So,
green fire, blue fire, who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Steve, what's next? I am going to try to unbreak a lot of stuff, but what would you like to see? What would you like to see out of like the next bit of what we maybe focus on? There's a lot that in my mind that I was going to work on, but it was only because I admit that I was like, oh, I already know how to do that. But maybe there's like an order of process, like oh, this makes sense for us to tackle next, if you will.
Yeah, the biggest thing is tools. I keep going back to the tool stuff. So the tools themselves are going to help create the game, but the tools will also allow later down the line players to create things as well. So for what I mean by that is I really want a map editor. I want a map creator. There is, let me just show you this really quickly. Let's see, where is this? Hopefully this actually works. I don't know if this is broken or not. I have some editors already, like this map editor. Let me show you. Let me just go over here. Oh, actually, let me go over here. Let me go. Oh, sorry. This map is not complete, by the way. That's what this white space is. So this map editor is an example. This should be a tool that allows us to go around, walk around a map, and create stuff as we go. So, for example, I'm going to put grass here. Oh, well, now I'm building up the map. You can kind of see on the mini map.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't even know you could do
Yep.
that.
So now let's say, okay, instead let me just put some dirt here. I'll put some dirt over here. And obviously we can play around with textures and stuff. Like I said earlier, this is all just placeholder art for now. But now let's say, okay, you know what? I really think that this should be, what is this? A tree, yeah. Let me just put a tree right here. As a matter of fact, let me put a wall right here. And so what I really want to do, and I'll just get rid of these, is be able to, and we could use this, but this kind of sucks. The idea was that we can walk around maps and build things out as we're walking. We can add NPCs, we could add items, we can create things. All these tools that need to, let me see if I can find the item editor. And hopefully the item editor works. Control I. I've forgotten what the shortcut keys are. Ooh, look at that. So we can create items. There are some already in here. But yeah, these fonts are all off, by the way. But that's okay. When we actually create the tool, we can mess around with.
I'll fix what I've destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got to look worse before it looks better. It's one of those things, you know what I mean? I got you.
But item editor is a great example. I want to be able to create items that we can attach to loop tables that are attached to NPCs that are attached to a zone that we've created from a map. Mm-hmm. So being able to do that sort of thing, walking around and adding an NPC to a map itself. Quest editor, we have to be able to do tools for quests and for raids and just all the tools that go into the creation of the game itself. That really needs to be the next step on what we work on, is the tooling.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. I will take some notes. The first thing I'm going to do is fix everything, but I think for the next thing that we'll do is I will drop my table because I've already destroyed my database to the ends of the earth, but let me powwow with you on that.
Let's talk a little bit about the database too, just in case anyone cares. We're actually using a Postgres database with JSONB in it. It's an easier way of doing things rather than a pure NoSQL or a pure SQL database. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely noticed. So right now, a lot of apps are using ORMs, and I was looking into this, and for ORMs can definitely be unperformant for a game like this where we want to have, a lot of concurrency and stuff like that with a lot of users. So having it be raw SQL is actually pretty neat that it kind of, because I'm really, really trash at writing SQL. I need to look everything up, and then it's basically slamming it until it works. I hope my future employers don't hear me say that out loud, but that's the truth. And it's great because Claude will have no issues, right? AI has no issues writing perfect SQL on the first go. That's so right. I'm really actually pretty stoked that we didn't use an ORM, which, in case anyone doesn't know, is like a layer on top to translate SQL into something that's more readable. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad you made that decision for technical purposes. Yeah.
And I can speak fluent SQL. I love SQL, and I'm okay at Mongo. I'm learning Mongo, but the reality is I don't like ORMs at all. Even if I could or couldn't, I've used ORMs in the past and I hate them. There's another layer of abstraction there that just it's so convoluted, and you're trusting the ORM tool to get it right. Maybe it's like trusting AI to get it right.
Sure.
At least, but we'll see what happens anyway.
I love NoSQL. It's the one that I get the most. But I also acknowledge Postgres is just so sweet. It's just so sick. And I never want to write SQL, so it's a perfect little apex to have AI show up at this time period. Where now I that's another thing, is that like there's like so much stuff that I admit that I never learned all the way, and I'm like sick. I don't have to learn it anymore.
So what are you thinking? Like, what do you want to do next?
I think we can call it here, and then we can still make some initial plans for what we want to get done next. I can definitely start working on unscrewing a lot of what we talked about that I messed up. But I think we're at a good spot for today. Do you have anything that you want to plug, by the way? I got some plugs.
I want to hear a plug from you.
All right. No, it's okay. I got two plugs. So I got two plugs. For context, I have been really ever since we started working on this. I started kind of messing around with Unity a little bit. I got onto this game. It came out like 10 years ago almost. It's called Golf Story on Nintendo Switch. Basically, it's like a 16-bit golf game. I love it. It was actually inspiring enough that I was like, I want to try to make. But what I hated about it was like they send you on like dumb quests, and all I want to do is play golf. The quests are like, go do these chores and errands, and I was like, no, I don't want any of that. I don't want the RPG elements. I just want to play golf. So I love that game right now. It was very inspirational. And on Humble Bundle, they have a great asset pack that gave me a lot of inspiration when I was clicking around for the assets. The Humble Bundle is by, I really want to plug them because it was so cool. Ovani Sounds. So I wanna give a shout out to Ovani Sounds on Humble Bundle. They have very inspirational music that let me like see the game that I want to make in my head.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you want me to plug something, I will plug. It's not a indie, it's not anything like that, but it's this weekend. If anyone is interested, the Lorwyn Eclipsed Magic: The Gathering pre-release is happening. And if you're an old school MTGer like me and have any sort of love for Lorwyn, I gotta say it is. I've just looked at the previews. It's shaping up to be a great set. So if you're into Magic at all, I highly recommend checking it out. So it looks awesome.
For context, Steve and I love Magic: The Gathering, and if this game doesn't work out, this will become me and Steve playing one-on-one Magic the entire time. So
that's right.
Yeah. If you guys want to subscribe for more Magic: The Gathering beefs, let me know.
Exactly right.
No, that's awesome. And last question for you. I actually had this table in my mind. Did you watch football this weekend?
I sure did. I mean,
amazing weekend. That was insane weekend, and then it ended with a complete stinker. But just the Chargers and I already forgot. The Chargers New England game was trash in my opinion. Yeah. But all of the other games, holy crap, they were just such great games the entire weekend.
As a matter of fact, there's a game going on right now.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Go Steelers. I hope they're winning right now. I have completely missed it, but go Steelers. I'm not a fan.
I just want the Steelers.
Best run franchise in the league, dude. Best run franchise in the league. Hot take.
I like Mike Tomlin, but fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I don't like Aaron, but I like fuck Aaron Rodgers, but you know what? The Steelers are just cool, and they have the coolest colors too.
They are cool. For sure.
Green Bay is second. Green Bay has the second coolest colors, and I'm sorry. I know you hate them too, but.
Anyone who watches this and is an Aaron Rodgers fan, I'm not apologizing.
Yeah. No. We man, I wish like Aaron Rodgers just like retired in the 2010s. That's like, and then I could just have a good memory of him in mind. But yeah.
Anyway, cool. All right, let's close up shop.
Sounds good. I'll sync with you soon, dog.
Yep, sounds good.